This video will serve as a compilation of comments from an impromptu debate under Stefbot's The Social Contract, Defined and Destroyed in Under 5 Minutes video. This video is just a list of comments, devoid of commentary, and I will post a video reply with my summary of the arguments so far. I welcome similar videos from others, particularly those involved in the debate on Stefbot's page. Finally, please notify me if I errantly omitted, distorted, or otherwise was biased or incomplete in this recitation. It is here purely for reference. Directed chaos. This is just fapping with words. The intended meaning behind social contract is easy to disprove. Look to North Korea or any dictatorship. Clearly the majority do not consent to that rule and cannot move. This doesn't invalidate the heuristic proof of governmental benefits, even via forced restriction of rights, just as your right to kill your neighbor, buy him as a slave, or keep all your money instead of funding some poor sap's education. Life is not black and white, think. Morgoth. Whence a right to kill someone? If you're going to lump it together with legitimate rights so as to form an anti-concept, don't think it'll be imperceptible. There is no right, by contrast, governments to reserve such a right for themselves. Why not you think and realize he is demonstrating the absurdity of a commonly used philosophical justification for government in a terribly poor Directed chaos. Morgoth. 1. Reread my comment. I explained that a crude reading of SC is an invalid defense of governments, but not for the reasons proposed in this video. 2. Explain that this doesn't mean governments are wrong. The better argument is heuristic in nature, where restricting some rights increases aggregate quality of life. 3. I included examples of rights everyone agrees with, some used to agree with, and currently only staunch libertarians disagree with. I stand by my comment. Think. Morgoth. You presuppose governments are the only way to enforce those rights that are valid, and that those others that you mentioned somehow have justification. Why? Directed chaos. Society benefits from keeping you from killing your neighbor, as a clear example. You could form coalitions of self-defense, but that situation devolves into warlords vying for power. It is a power vacuum. Government is inevitable, and it is not necessarily an evil thing. We just have to be honest about its responsibilities in crafting it. Forcing you to pay for your poor neighbor's child's education also benefits society. Protecting against economic force is important too. Morgoth. All assertions. Rights are sanctioned in society that belong, so to speak, to the individual. Society does not enter into the equation in the other way, unless you're going to postulate some sort of aggregative principle of utility, not even real utilitarianism, which itself does not take individuals, quote, individuals seriously. Society has no say in the matter. Stefbot. So theft is both good and evil at the same time? How is that possible? Directed chaos. This is precisely what I mean by black and white worldview. Theft is when person A takes something person B owns. What is ownership? Did the kings and lords in feudal times own the land? Was revolution theft? Nothing is binary, so logic is only valid to the point that it approximates reality. Is killing always bad? What about in self-defense? Capitalism can make slaves just as well as guns can. Pepper punch. The same action can't be moral and immoral. Using the same word to describe fundamentally different actions is imprecise. Kings didn't own it, so taking it wasn't theft. What is ownership? Look up the homestead principle. Is killing always bad? What about in self-defense? Look up the non-aggression principle. Steph has shown that those principles describe universally preferable behavior. It seems you prefer tax slavery over owning yourself in gain and loss. Directed chaos. Check out child labor, a century plus ago, the triangle factor file, radium girls, Enron. The dangers of free market capitalism are obvious to all but the purists. The homestead principle is bogus. Native Americans reasoned land before Europeans. Indeed, by this principle, factory workers would own their own factories, a clear contradiction with capitalism. My point is that these things are not black and white. Don't deify the free market. It can do terrible things when left to self-regulate. Pepper punch. Free markets allow capitalism and socialism. Native Americans own what land they transform for use or occupied, not what they left as nature. Factory workers can't own the pre-existing factory by the homestead principle unless they buy it. They often choose to sell their labor, which is based on a part of the homestead principle self-ownership. No person exists outside the market who can regulate it. I know people can make bad decisions in the free market. They created the state for one. Directed chaos. Pepper punch. Free markets allow socialism. Socialism is all about regulating the market, and some industries even require government ownership. It's communism light. It can still use the principles of competition, yes, which I do agree with, but freedmen wouldn't want socialism, and anarchists definitely won't. Re-natives. You missed the point. We forced them off their land at gunpoint. Homestead principle failure number 1. Directed chaos. Homestead principle failure number 2. Claims without use. There was a guy who tried to use the homestead principle to claim ownership of an asteroid because he invested legal issues into it. The problem on the surface is a scale. Should I be allowed to claim something I've never touched? The court said no, fortunately. But what if I've only touched it once, or bought it from someone who had? How many factory owners work in their factories? This is my point. It's not a direct use equals own relationship. Or not. How is that the homestead principle? Investing is not homesteading. Pepper punch. With the HP, you must be occupating nature for use or have transformed nature for use, not have intangibly used it. If workers own the means of production socialism, then they can do so in a free market by combining each other's property, not by stealing capitalist property. The Native American scenario is not a failure of the principle, but a lack of the using of the principle. Read simply anarchy.com. Do not understand the basic concept. Directed chaos. It's simple. Either Native Americans owned the land to be immoral and kicked them off, A, or they didn't, B. If homesteading says B, then homesteading failed because by common definition they own the land and we stole it. It constitutes an arbitrary redefinition of ownership. If homesteading says A, then the people currently on their land gained it immorally and surely can't be considered the rightful owners. Libertarians, anarchists love basic logic. It's pretty simple. HP fails. Pepper punch. HP says A for certain cases, but you fail at comprehending basic implications. The Native American individuals who had their homesteaded land stolen are dead, and the land is now possessed by people who aren't the thieves. Most of the thievery was by government, so in honor of NA, we can eliminate governments. The chance of retribution is over, like it is for getting back our previously taken taxes. I welcome the NA guests to the shit out of luck club like the rest of us. Dirty chaos. Re-NA. The thievery was done by the government. People currently owning the land profited from it by generational hand-me-downs. The rich are often born into the richness, and if that wealth was originally garnered immorally, then their descendants' possession of the wealth is immoral. What would you do if you got rid of the government? How would you reallocate the land? I sure as hell wouldn't give all the land back to the NAs, but there is no doubt we stole it. Do you see the fuzziness? Dirty chaos. About the use portion of the HP. Investing is homesteading and modern capital systems. An investor can hire a construction team to go out and build a mansion on a new plot of land and claim it via HP. It's a matter of how far the courts would let this go. Ultimately, property rights are simply a vague term. We are renting from our children, and the landless family screws over any descendants who have to grow up in effective economic slavery. We need government to even the playing field. Pepper punch. It's not a matter of how far the courts will let this go. Investing alone is not the HP. The works is the HP, and the investment is merely a transaction of money for doing the work, which is not possible for me to use as of yet. If property rights is such a vague term, how could children be owned property? You being confused does not make it a vague term. If land is the right people want, why are cities so popular? Bosses need employees. Everyone has to work except the make it rich and they like to. Directed chaos. Investing equals paying others to do work. Work equals HP, therefore investing equals HP. You have to use some intelligence to follow the path since it's not a formal proof, but it's overwhelmingly obvious. A rich man can pay someone else to do work on a plot of land and is effectively the same as the rich man doing the work himself, as far as HP is concerned. Pepper bunch. Work does not equal the homestead principle. Working on unowned material does. Investing does not equal paying people to work on nature. It doesn't even equal paying people to work because it can equal buying products for yourself. Anyway, this 500 character debate special Olympics where you assure me that United scenarios will occur with no mechanism for how they will occur is pointless. Read some more books, watch some more videos, I'll study more communist stats. Dirty chaos. More on HP. Ownership is what we are trying to establish, so unknown demands clarification. Assuming nobody has ever touched the land, then paying people to work on the land grants you ownership under HP. Investing does not equal paying people to work on nature. It can. It doesn't even equal paying people to work because it can equal buying products for yourself. Creationists pull the same crude tactics. It's with the discussion here. Paying people to work on the land is a type of investing. Pepper punch. Here's how to clarify the phrase working on unknown material. It means working non-previously owned, non-contractually owned, abandoned, lost material. Slash stands for or. My shorthand version would be working state of nature material. Paying people to work on the land and giving the work to land to you will earn you the land. Pepper punch. I'm pointing you to statistics. Economic divide is growing. Our less regulated society is worse off than more regulated societies. In every power vacuum, at a minimum, warlords take over. Check out our blunders in Afghanistan. And democracy is really the best we can hope for. Democracy is the worst form of government, except all the others. Has anarchy ever lasted? Wake up. Pepper bunch. Economic divide is not my nightmare, even though I think anarchy can reduce it. The warlords in Afghanistan are the previous government and our government. Anarchists don't like either. I consider the market to be the most democratic system we can hope for. We'll free it one day, like developed nations eventually give up slavery. Skipped. Pepper bunch. I do recommend you make a video if you'd like to continue doing so on. I don't. I think I'll learn more from reading scholarly writers with your point of view. I suggest to detail your theory, such as explaining less regulation because if the government only has one regulation, that regulation is kill all citizens or confiscate all wealth, it would be a disastrous government. It might even be ensure a wide economic divide, though economic divide is better than equal poverty. That point is to show that just one regulation can make government worse than no regulation, which falsifies the more is better than less idea, so your theory needs more detailed descriptions. The theory also needs to show that your correlations are not the file drawer effect and do limit variables to prove causation of one variable. Critic chaos. Pepper bunch. This discussion is moving to a more productive arena. Analysis of real-world governments and quality indicators for their societies. You're absolutely correct to mention that regulations need definition, and statistics must be critically analyzed to assure proper interpretation. Critic chaos. Readers can assess the gist of my argument. Government force in the form of antitrust laws, strict FDA, EPA, OSHA, etc. standards, strong public education, etc. tends to be beneficial, counting taxes. Markets can be overregulated, causing stagnation and bureaucratic bloat, and worse, a strong state can stomp on civil rights we hold dear. In my view, as I'll try to explain, it's all about children can be owed decent opportunities in life. I believe that starving Africans are owed food and general overarching moral scheme for human organization. Imperialism was hardly fair. Beyond that, I simply hold that we should try to give babies equal opportunities. Imagine a situation where the poor can't even afford to go to school, thus can't read, write, etc. How would they ever make gains in the system? They'd effectively be slaves. Labor workers in our recent past felt this. Direct chaos. Exploitation happens and economic disparities grow in the middle class. The pillars of democracy gets eroded. Some examples. These are scientific statistics from U.S. Census Bureau. Pepper punch. Using examples of government failures, anarchy failures, your forte logical fallacy. Government stole Indian land, so that's HP's fault. Government funded the Radium Corporation, so the poor regulation is anarchy's fault. Our government citizens do worse than other government citizens, so it's anarchy's fault. Poor children in working conditions were institutionalized or ignored by government, so it's anarchy's fault. Direct chaos. Government stole NA land, so current ownership claims are immoral. Lack of regulation, i.e. lack of government, tends to create worse off societies. That is my argument. Pepper punch. Was communist Russia not governed enough, governed less than we are? Try considering the mechanisms working in economics that have to do with regulation, because America is a highly and increasingly regulated market, not anarchy. The fact that some regulations hurt less than others is obvious, but that doesn't disprove no regulation. Direct chaos. The point is our market is less regulated than Europe. Social indicators I mentioned, education, religiosity, healthcare, pollution, economic disparities, etc. are better in Europe than the US. This is not my argument. Some regulations help, not hurt. It's a limit argument, less regulation, worse society. Pepper bunch. Homesteading can be done through investment. That does not mean investment equals homesteading. Without working the state of nature material, there is no homesteading of the material, so investing in something else does not equal homesteading. If investment equals a set of types, it does not equal any single type. Color does not equal red. The original argument said investment does not equal homesteading.